Welcome back to City Speak. I'm Clarence Anthony, CEO and Executive Director of the National League of Cities. City Speaks gives listeners an insider's view of what local leadership in America means today and features conversations with government leaders and policy experts regarding the biggest issues and challenges facing America's cities, towns, and villages. Today, as we gear up for Father's Day, we're focusing on leadership and fatherhood and how they shape outcomes for early childhood and serve the children and families in our cities, towns, and villages across America. So let me tell you, I am so excited. I actually almost didn't rest last night because I got two major leaders who are transforming an American city, a city of first, Baltimore. Today, I have these leaders, and they're both my friend, Mayor Brandon Scott and my friend, Council President Zeke Cohen from Baltimore City. Welcome to City Speak, y'all. How you doing, both of you?
I'm good. Good to be back.
Doing great. Really good to be with you, Clarence. Appreciate you.
Good to be with you guys as well. As my listeners know, Mayor Scott is in his second term and is the father of three, and Council President Zeke Cohen is also a father of two. With Father's Day approaching, they are joining the pod today to discuss NLC's Early Childhood Success Program. And they're also highlighting their leadership and their role in shaping the future of early childhood in Baltimore City. Before I get into that, I want to ask you guys something. So when a president leaves his post, he often opens up the desk drawer and leaves a note to the next president. Now, Mayor Scott, you were council president, and then Council President Cohen is now there. What note would you or have you left for him in his drawer telling him about the role of council president?
Yeah, there was a gap. So we had Council President Nick Mosby in between, but when the Council President and I talked about the new role, after for us, after the primary election, I just remember telling him, and he can tell you this about him now being at the next level of leadership, which is going to be a lot tougher. It's going to require decisions that will need to be made. That's going to have everybody angry and mad and yelling and screaming at them. But when you're in a significant position of leadership, you don't have the ability to play to emotion, right? Or to play to people you like or don't like. It's about doing what's right. And then also just saying that you'll also be in a position where everyone always says, Clarence, I wish I got to see everything you see or know all the things that you know. And then I'm like, no, you don't. And I said to the council president, you'll be getting briefings about and direct details about things that you're going to wish you never had to know. And that we had to make sure that, you take care of yourself on the mental side to deal with that, because it's a heavy weight. It's as high as you rise, it's as heavy as the weight's going to get.
Council President, has that been accurate? How's it been to be the Council President the last year or so?
Look, I'll start by saying I love my job. It is the best job in America. No disrespect to my mayor. He likes his job too, so we're good. But there is something uniquely fun about being the council president, where you are the leader of the legislative branch and you're in the mix on many, many, many things, like the mayor said, but you're not the head of the executive. And so when something bad happens in a wastewater treatment facility, or when a pipe bursts somewhere, or when a water bill is errant, people don't immediately blame me. They blame him first, which is appreciated. But, I think one of the nice things about Mayor Scott's Mayor Scott and my partnership and friendship is that he has done it first, and we talk a lot. I will often call him, whether it's on the personal side or the professional or political side, and say like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And even though we are the leaders of different branches of government, and there can be healthy tension between the executive and legislative branch, there is a strong enough foundation of friendship and respect that we talk a lot and are able to problem solve often in real time things that if the relationship wasn't there and if the respect wasn't there could spiral and blow up. I mean, one conversation we've had a couple of times is like a lot of times there can be competition, staff to staff competition, and folks can, something gets said and it can land a certain way. And it's why us being able to pick up the phone and call each other and like, hey, I said this thing. What do you mean by it? Is really important in how we lead the city together.
No, that's really good advice from both of you in regards to having the city itself as your main goal of making the community better and serving the residents better, and that's why you have the relationship that you have. I also think that when residents or the press or the community see you, a lot of times they don't think about the whole leadership person you are, and that's a part of your leadership is your family and being connected to them as well. How has being a father shaped your decision making, mayor as well as council president, in terms of your community? Because both of you have done work in your community supporting young children as a part of your agenda. Mayor, how has it shaped your way of leading and your decision making?
Yeah, I think that, and Clarence, even before I get to your other point, I think for me it's a little different, right? Because well, you know this better than anybody. I started out in office and working in City Hall so young that as a one of our most seasoned residents told me at our older adults luncheon a few years ago. I mean, a few weeks ago, that she literally has watched me grow up on TV. So for me, like they see the whole family, right? Which is a different like now that we, have my wife's very active, my kids are very out in the front. It's a very different thing than we've had in Baltimore in a quite a long time. But also with me personally, so they've seen me before I had kids. Every day, I treated every child in the city as they were my kid. I still do that, but it's a little different. But now, being a actual father, it makes you think about every single decision you make, right? Whether it's about education, you public safety, whatever, health, you're always thinking about your kids. There is nothing that you think about, no actions you take that you don't think, how is this going to impact my children? And I think, personally, I think that helps us be better leaders and more well-rounded leaders because we got to think everything through, and we're also thinking that through the lens of the best, most close watching eyes, and that's the lens of a parent.
Yeah, and I would just add on to that. I think where it's deeply personal for us both is when you think about issues around childcare, very rarely does a day go by where we aren't navigating some childcare situation. My wife's a psychiatrist down in Cherry Hill, and we are working parents just like everybody else in the city of Baltimore. And so with our two kids, I got a 5 and an 8-year-old, it is often the question of like, all right, who's going to get Maya? Who's bringing Eli to T-ball? And I think it humanizes this policy question around providing great childcare for working parents, which is something both the mayor and I have championed. And there are funny ways in which we both get pulled in different directions, and sometimes have to say no to stuff because of our kids. I remember
That's the best part.
Brandon, I don't know if we talked about this or not. Yeah, it is. There was a point at which the head of the Baltimore Museum, this wonderful woman named Asma, reached out and was like, "Hey, Zeke, can you come do a citation for Amy Sherald, the amazing painter who painted the Obamas, who had a fracas with the president and ended up taking her stuff to Baltimore because anytime you want to be anywhere outside of Washington, D.C., the place you go is Baltimore. So she ended up taking all her stuff to the Baltimore Museum of Art. And Asma calls me, and it's a Friday, and she's like, "Hey, Zeke, can you come do this citation for Amy? The mayor was going to come, but he had a childcare issue and it fell through. Can you go do it?" And I was like, yeah, like I love some Amy. I knew her. She had actually lived in Baltimore, worked at, she was an artist in residence at Creative Alliance before she blew up and got famous. And like I knew her back then. And so I was like, heck yeah. But I've also got a childcare issue. And so are you cool with me bringing Maya? And she was like, yeah, bring your daughter. And so I ended up going up and had my daughter Maya read the citation to Amy Sherald. And there's this really beautiful picture of Amy like hugging on Maya while she's reading her the citation. And all that to be said, it's funny because I think we both are often pulled in sort of the public and private directions simultaneously. And again, it's why having two young dads that are sort of going through pretty similar things in leadership positions, I think is a little different for Baltimore in some ways, and I think is healthy for folks to see us as full human beings.
I agree with that. I actually saw the mayor at an event where his son he was running behind his son at an African American mayors conference where he became president of AMA. And I was trying to talk to him, and his son basically said, "Nope, this is my dad, and this is our time tonight." So I do think that that's important that you align and understand the priority there. As you think about priorities and you think about the things that you care about, you fund in your budget what is important. And so let me ask you guys about the leverage that you are pulling in terms of investing in children and family programs. I know there are a couple. One is Be More for Babies, is one that you guys have invested. But what else have you done in your community to show that commitment to children and families?
Yeah, that's been the focus for both of us in our public lives, right? And when you think about Be More for Healthy Babies, that program was created to help deal with the infant mortality gap, and we've now decreased that gap between white and black babies by 48% in the city, and brought the infant mortality rate down 39% overall. But we go even beyond that. We worked, the council president and I worked at this earlier this year to get 500,000 more to expand capacity for child care providers in the city. During the government shutdown, we made this a priority, providing money for the affected families. But even when you think about our overall operational budget, right? When you think about in just short time that I've been the mayor of Baltimore, the Department of Recreation and Parks budget has grown by 40%. The police department's budget has grown by 13% in that time. We've opened, since I've become the mayor of Baltimore, 7 new rec centers. We've already opened 2 this year. We have 4 more, 13 new schools. We opened the first new library in more than 15 years, and then we'll open the second this summer. When you think about where we're spending our effort and money, we have 8,500 kids that will get summer jobs, career pathways, and the Fleet Academy, all of these things that we've seen. And we've also done things for our teenagers, for teen pool parties, midnight basketball, late night rec centers, summer camps, safe patches. All of these things are really around uplifting our young people and our families. And I know that the council president shares that same commitment, because for me, I will take it when I hear people say, sometimes in a snide remark that I care more about the kids than everybody else. Well, the answer is you're right, because if we do not invest in our most precious resources, our young people, and the support systems that they need around them, like their families, now they will not grow into the best version of themselves, and neither will we. For me, this is really personal, flipping on its head how the city operated when I was a young person, where I was seen as a problem to solve, not something to invest in. And now we flip that on its head, and we're going to keep going that way because it builds a better, stronger community, more vibrant community when you invest in young people now. You can pay now or pay later.
Yeah, and I'll just second everything the mayor said. And for me, look, both of us have kids in Baltimore City schools, so that much, and I think they will be there until they graduate up out of high school. Uh, Also say I started my career as a teacher in West Baltimore and taught in a school without heat or air conditioning or drinkable potable water. It had bars on the windows and it looked more like a jail than a school. And for me, as a 22-year-old teacher, my thinking was, man, if we're sending our children to places that look like prisons, what's the expectation that we are sending to them? And I'm really proud to say that about 14 years later, we have rebuilt 38 brand new Baltimore City public schools with a lot of help from our partners in state government. We and these are places that have green roofs, that have big bay windows, that are the kind of places that you would want to send your kids to, that I feel good sending anyone else's kids to. It is so important, the physical infrastructure of a building, what it communicates, what it says to a young person. I'll also know, Clarence, where you started was talking about early childhood education. I'm proud to say that Baltimore is outpacing the rest of the state of Maryland when it comes to kindergarten readiness. Now, for me, and I know the mayor shares this goal as well, I want to get even further. I would love to see us with universal pre-kindergarten, getting all the way down to our 3-year-olds. That is going to take substantial work and investment, but everything we know about human cognitive development is those first 5 years, 0 through 5, are critical. It is always good investment to invest early in early childhood education. That's why I'm thrilled you all are coming, Clarence, Tanja, and the good folks from NLC on the 18th, I believe, to have an early childhood summit right here in Baltimore with me and the mayor. I think that stuff is critically important. And the last piece that I'll throw in is one of the dynamics that I saw as a teacher and as a councilman is that we see a disproportionate amount of trauma located in our communities in Baltimore. And so after a school shooting, I was proud to pass the first law in the United States of America to enact trauma-informed care. And that is something that I've been incredibly proud to partner with the mayor as part of his comprehensive violence intervention strategy, and to see that work be adopted in Cincinnati and in some other cities as well. Baltimore is on this incredible comeback streak when it comes to reducing violence. And one thing that the mayor and I both believe with our full hearts is it's not just about policing our way out of our problems. It's about investing in the well-being. It's about addressing the root causes like childhood trauma in order to prevent violence from occurring in the first place.
Now that our team is so excited about coming to Baltimore City to meet with you both and your staff, um, because as you guys know, it takes the commitment from the leadership of the city to be able to drive an issue and to make sure that real impact occurs. I wanted to build on that a little bit because I'm a Head Start baby, and the concept of Head Start is you work with the whole family. So, how do you integrate parents into what you're doing and their perspective and their development? Because you can help the kid move forward, but if the parents aren't growing with them, um, they would come home and say, "What did you learn today?" "Oh, don't worry about that stuff." But if they're a part of it, they're like, didn't we learn something great today? So talk to me a little bit about how you're partnering child with the parents.
And I think, Clarence, Baltimore is a place where, again, we're very innovative on that, a city of first, right? When you think about even for Be More for Healthy Babies, right? And you know that oftentimes in hard to reach folks, and sometimes for you and I, sometimes Black men, we can be a little standoffish with somebody coming and trying to tell us what we need to be doing, how we should be doing it. You got to meet people where they are. Right. So we have this thing like a monthly gathering in Upton and Drew Heights with Be More for Healthy Babies. It's in partnership with local barbershops and barber owners because we know everybody going to be in the barbershop. Everybody going to be talking. And what better place to talk that? That's a space where dads feel comfortable, right? You know, in the barbershop, anything you can have to say or need to say, you can say it. And you don't have to worry about someone looking at you a kind of way. And that's the space we're using to have them talk about parenting and about life. And similar thing with Head Start. They have a partnership with a great organization that I was a board member for many years called the Center for Urban Families. That this is what FUF does every day. Help build stronger families. They have a fatherhood program, which I am a actual graduate of myself at the center. And it's really about helping folks grow. And even through our mayor's office of African American male engagement, when we're working with young people, and we don't just work with the youngest of the young, we work with teenagers and even some late teens and 20s. We're also working with the parents to help make sure that when we get that young man who was off on the wrong track, we often find out that the parents themselves need tools to help them deal with that young person, but they also might need deeper support. We do the same thing through the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, trying to help everyone connect and grow together, because it's not just good enough for us to have the child be ready. As the council president said, we want them to be ready for kindergarten, but we need the parents to be ready for them to be ready for kindergarten. We have to continue to grow those deep partnerships, but those innovative ways of doing it, because you're not just going to get folks to just come to a meeting. You have to go to them, meet them where they are.
One other thing I would throw in too is, one of the dynamics when I was a teacher that I saw a lot is that we have many families in Baltimore where it's actually a grandparent that is doing some of the labor of raising not just their own kid, but their grandkid. And so family looks different, and what it means to be a parent can look really different. Maybe it's an aunt, maybe it's a grandparent. We know that our elders in Baltimore are wisdom keepers. I was really glad to partner with my now vice president, Sharon Green Milton, to create a cabinet level office of aging that the mayor has invested in. He just had a summit a couple weeks ago that I was at, but really lifting up the role of the grandparent in the family here in Baltimore, I think, is an important piece of what we do. There's also a program called Experience Corps that we fought to keep in the city. That it's an AmeriCorps program, and what it does is have elders, grandparents come and teach to elementary kids in our schools, and so creating that intergenerational bond. But I think we're in this moment where strengthening parenting, strengthening what it means to be a family just may look a little different, and that's okay. Because as long as our young people have someone that is supporting, that is guiding, that is pouring love into them, that's what we want to support.
Well, thank you for that, and that is so helpful. I'm sure that the listeners will, especially elected ones, will grasp a lot of good content and ideas from what you shared. I want to get back to you guys as fathers. I mean, being in the public eye all the time is probably very challenging, especially in cities all over America. And I want to ask you to share with us and any advice that you would give other elected officials to lean into their roles as fathers, and any advice you'd give them in terms of how do they manage the both roles, because in a lot of ways, when you're walking through communities, no matter where it is, you are a father figure for those young kids who they say the council president is coming to my classroom or the mayor is coming to my classroom today, and they're so excited. What advice to elected officials would you have in terms of how do they own that role as a father figure in their community?
I would say lean all the way in. Lean all the way in. It does help people understand that you're human, but also you have to have as much balance as you can. And I'll tell you this story. Kind of, I may have told you this before, but uh, uh, before when my wife was pregnant with Charm, I wanted to see someone who I knew was a father, who I knew was very involved, and I thought did both jobs well. I wanted to see how it was done. So I got on a plane and I went to St. Paul, Minnesota, and I shadowed my good brother Melvin Carter for a couple of days. And what I learned from Melvin and what he told me very simply was, and I know he won't mind me saying this, he was like, Brandon, there's always going to be a meeting or event. You have to take time for your children because there's only one first step. There's only one first word. You have to take balance, and people will understand and respect that because they don't want to miss things with their children. Do your job, do it well, but do it in a way that allows people to see you as human. Involve your family as much as you want to, and as much as they want to be involved, which is a blessing for me. No one loves City Hall more than Saron, our oldest, and the two little ones don't mind it at all. But also just make sure that you are respecting your ability to do this work and show the importance of fatherhood through your work, because you'll be sending out an example of what it is to be a working father, an elected father, and showing if the mayor can push a stroller and change diapers or do pick up and drop off, then everybody can do that, right? And we know that it goes even beyond your own children. I can't tell you, especially now, this is like the second year in a row where there are young people whose parents at their graduations afterwards have shown me pictures of them and said, you spoke at his kindergarten, his fifth grade, his eighth grade, and now his 12th grade. Young people that I've known their whole entire life that now I'm helping to get into school or going into school and they're saying, I got everything paid for, but I don't have the $300 to do the housing down payment, and just give them the money because you have to be there for your community and they'll respect that and you'll get that back tenfold. When I see some of the young people that I work with and help them and their families over the years now, running programs, running businesses, hiring people, working at schools that they went to, coordinating community events. That's what it's all about for me. How do you pay it forward? Not for you, but for the rest of the people in your community, and leaning all the way in. And I had the ability to see some people do it very well. There is no elected father more dedicated to being an elected official and a father than my good brother Corey McCray. I've watched him do it for many years, and I remember conversations that he and I had when he first got elected, saying the same thing, like spend like your kids, you got to be there. And just watching him and watching Melvin, now I just try to take it to the next level, take that baton of that fatherhood and being the mayor and showing people with the platform that I have in a much wider way.
Yeah, I would say, the importance of honoring the relationship with our children and with our spouses. These are very stressful, intense, high pressure jobs that we are in. There is always going to be a push from the media, from the public, from colleagues, from whomever. And like Brandon said, like the mayor said, uh, doing the work of being a dad, of being a husband, not taking it for granted, not being the photo op dad that just like pops in for the selfie and the gram and then like pops on out and leaves it to your wife to do all the hard work. I think is something we both take extremely seriously as we talk about what it means to be a good father in public. I also think two other things. One is vulnerability, right? Sharing moments from our own lives. Like recently, my mother passed away, and Brandon and I talked about mental health and the toll it takes, and getting back into therapy, and um, being okay with having vulnerable conversations, both behind the scenes and in public, and just modeling that it's okay to not be okay, and that what is not okay is to bottle all of your emotions inside and then crash out and act in a way that is either violent or self-destructive. But to be able to uh, talk honestly about it, to be able to model what it means to, get support when you need it, to be vulnerable about your feelings. I think those are hard things to do in a hyper masculine world that we live in, where we're in this era of the manosphere, and what it means to be a man is to be disrespectful to women and to be homophobic and all these other things. And I think the model of leadership that we're seeking to share with the world is not that. It is about being honest. It's about being vulnerable. It's about being transparent. It's about treating people with respect. And then the final thing that is like always a push and pull that I think about is how much to expose my family to the limelight, right? I mean, Clarence, you thought about this. Brandon thinks about this. It's tricky because the internet is forever. People say mean things about us in public all the time, right? Like, trolls and whatnot. And so I do think a lot about how much exposure my kids should have. And like, I got a daughter, for example, who is, pretty shy and more of an introvert. She's sweet as can be. She's smart. She's lovely. She's wonderful. But, is she trying to be all over my social media? Probably not. And so, every now and then, sure, we'll do a picture together if we're at the lantern parade or the next to Fifi, which is a big dog float in a festival. But generally speaking, like, I'll keep her away from my social media because I know even though she's 8, she can articulate she don't like it. Whereas my son is a little bit more like rough and tumble and in the mix, and has like more of a politician's head on his shoulder. And so, I think it's also about like, what are the boundaries and how do you protect your family? And then the last thing I'll say on this, one thing I appreciate about the mayor, and one thing that, again, I think we both try to do is to not demonize kids when some kid does something we don't like, right? So we have a media culture where it's really easy to talk about the kids, the juveniles, read black male children causing problems in our cities. I think one thing that the mayor and I try to be really clear about is that is not what is going on here, right? Like, the vast majority of children in our city are doing the right things consistently. The vast majority of children are creative and brilliant and uh, heading in a good path. But when we have a media culture that loves to pick out the 1 or 2 or 3 that commit wrong and that do bad things, it can be very easy to demonize and typecast all of the kids in the city of Baltimore. And I think we both try to be very cognizant not to do that, not to do collective punishment, not to enact harmful things that have been done to previous generations, to Brandon's generation coming up, but to just be thoughtful about our policies and our words and how we describe children, particularly in moments where there may be a young person that did something that was bad.
Let me ask you guys my final question, and this is going to be able to help your family create this experience for you. This weekend is Father's Day. Tell me what your perfect Father's Day would look like. Council President, I'm going to start with you first.
Yeah, perfect Father's Day for me is, so my son is currently playing T-ball and my daughter's playing softball. I love going to their games. I'm like the stupidest sports fan when it comes to my own kids' sporting events. Both the mayor and I played sports in high school. And so I get like loud and rowdy at these games. They both have a game this weekend. So honestly, best Father's Day gift for me is seeing my kids, and particularly the T-ball because it's 5-year-olds. So they don't know what they're doing. It's like a big scrum. They all just jump on the ball together. It's complete chaos and madness, and it's really funny to watch. But like I'm competitive, and so I'm like, go get it, and it's joyful. I think that's what I'm gonna get this weekend, and that makes me extremely happy.
Mayor?
Well, for me, because of me, Father's Day is also always AFRAM. So just to be out there on Father's Day with my father and with my kids, and just being in this big celebration of Black history, Black culture, Baltimore's big Black family reunion, and it's also Father's Day, and we always celebrating and uplifting fathers. I can't ask for anything better than that, because that's the way that we will always have it here in Baltimore. So that's all I need. I don't need anything other than that.
Oh man, that's both of these sound like it's going to be fun. I'm going to put y'all on the mark here and ask you. So, is there going to be a game 6 Spurs Knicks? Who's going to win the series?
Yo, we're both Celtics fans, so I don't care.
We're not going to pick the Knicks. In all honesty, I actually think whoever wins game 4 will win the series. But I disagree with most pundits, Clarence. I think the pressure is actually on the Knicks. The pressure is on the Knicks because they're at home. They did something that normally means the series is over by winning the first 2 games on the road, and then
Yeah.
they wet the bed in game 3. If they do not win game 4, that I think the pressure might get them. I think that because you're talking about not just the pressure of the moment of winning the finals, you're talking about New York pressure and not having won since Willis Reed and Phil Jackson were on the team. That's a lot of pressure, and it will mount. And as always, I'm just hoping that the Knicks do what the Knicks do and find a way to wet the bed.
Well, Zeke, we don't have to worry about the Celtics. They kind of blew it up really early. But anyway,
They did.
hey, you know what? This has been such a great conversation and opportunity. And you both know I consider y'all family, and it's like sitting around just talking about fatherhood. It's talking about our commitments to our communities. It's talking about our leadership style. But most of all, it talks about a partnership between 2 leaders that care about the same thing, and that is making sure Baltimore City is a great place for everybody that lives there. So I want to thank you all for your leadership and for sharing your stories with our City Speak listeners. And it was so good. I mean it from the bottom of my heart to have both of you on with me today. And the final thing is happy Father's Day to you guys. I know it's going to be a great day.
Thank you, man. It was an absolute pleasure to get the time. And thanks for what you're doing for all of us dads and all of us moms at the NLC. Your work, I know, means a ton to me and the mayor. So thank you. And we're looking forward to hosting you all in about a week.
Yeah, our team will be there because they are very excited. I mean, they've been talking about it. So y'all take care of them. If I can come,
we will.
I'll drop in, but I don't think so.
And thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening to City Speak with Clarence Anthony. If you like this show, let us know. Share this episode with your friends and make sure to subscribe. We're curious to hear what you think, what you want more of, and how we can improve. If you have feedback or an idea for a guest you'd like Clarence to sit down with, send us your thoughts at cityspeakpodcast@nlc.org. Join us next month for a new episode. Like and subscribe here or wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.